believe all the Corvairs are gone. It's just after 4. So we're going to wander into the Pierce Arrow Motor Car Company Museum and maybe buy us a very expensive Pierce Arrow. 1903 Stanhope. And my camera's cooperating for a minute. We've got lots of wood construction with a bit of steel bent over the wood. That looks like a light switch I've got in one of my apartments. Too bad I've got to zoom in to get it to focus. Brass era. Engine, transmission, kind of sort of all together. It's just hard to see. If I unzoom, it gets unfocused. Here's the most incredible car. I'm a survivor kind of car guy. This is a 1931 Pierce Arrow that was ordered by a very wealthy bachelor in Cape Cod. And it's all original paintwork on the all aluminum body, specified with an extra high roof. Luggage rack. And all brass fittings. Brass. It seems that everything is brass. 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 Back in the day, they'd make you whatever you wanted if you paid the price. This guy was a multi-millionaire living on a vast estate in Cape Cod. And the car was acquired from his family, and it remains to this day totally original. It probably has awfully low mileage. And it says 26,000 miles. Not bad for 80 years old. Who knows when it's been off the road from? Could have been off the road when he was 81, I think, in 1931. So I have a feeling he didn't drive it much, or the chauffeur didn't drive it much. 80-year-old eccentric multi-millionaire, lifelong bachelor. Ceiling netting to accommodate top hats. Of course. Ceiling netting. Little foot. Step up. Pierce Arrow. And it was specified to have free standing headlamps, not flared into the fender as was customary with Pierce Arrow. See, there's the flared in headlamps. 1920 Walden prototype. Vice President of Packard designed this Hispano-Suiza inspired prototype vehicle in 1920. 1927, 1929 Pierce Arrow Series 133 Roadster. 1930. Excuse me. 1917 5-ton motor truck made in Buffalo, New York. With some radiator. Speedometer drive. Pierce Arrow, 5-ton truck. I guess you made what sold. You built things to make money. There was one of these in the Florida Museum, it seems to me. This reminds me of that 1914 Packard that I saw in the junkyard in South Fresno, California. Sitting in a junkyard. This is a 1917. The one that I saw was probably a 2-ton. Overloading or overspeeding will void your warranty. 5-ton truck. Pierce Arrow Motor Company, manufacturers, Buffalo, New York. Freight load capacity 10 1,000 pounds. $1925 Pierce Arrow Series 80 Roadster. School bus, yellow, orange. Miss Helen's Purse Arrow. Whoa, what a blurb. Helen Snow Jones was born in Cook County, Illinois, 1872. Very wealthy, real estate dealings throughout Chicago area, burlesque theater on State Street, 1921. Helen and her brother Edgecombe Lee moved to McLean, Virginia, and had a mansion built along the banks of the Potomac River. At the time, Helen and Edgecombe were personal friends of President Wilson. The house and surrounding property they lived in were known as Edgecombe Estate. The estate was torn down in 2001. Helen and Lee also owned property in Bar Harbor, Maine, known as Foxwood Estate. In 1947, Foxwood Estate burned to the ground in a great fire that almost destroyed the town of Bar Harbor. The school now occupies the ground where Foxwood Estate once stood. However, never married, nor did she have any children. In 1926, this Pierce Arrow town car was delivered to her estate from the Pierce Arrow dealership at 1141 Connecticut Avenue in Washington, D.C. The car had a custom-built body by the Durham Body Works of Philadelphia. The body ID is 1964. Helen specified the white wall tires were not to be allowed on the car. Upon delivery of that car, Helen was not satisfied with the color of the body, feeling it was too light. She sent it back to the factory to be repainted. She kept the car for 22 years until her death in 1948. Helen and her brother Lee are buried together at Edgelawn Cemetery. Garage kept until 1952 and traded to William Pettit for 2 Plymouth sedans. Mr. Pettit kept the car for 45 years in his private collection. The car was sold at Christie's auction in 1997. Sales at auction. Purchased the vehicle. Present owner. Cruise International auction. Original paint and upholstery after being repainted, as well as Helen's original monogrammed initials on both back doors. It's complete with all its original features, identification tags, top and side curtains. Aside from new valves and springs installed in the engine in 2001, this car has never been restored. Wow. Won the coveted R. Vale Faro for the most original car. The original garage and overhead apartment that once hosed Miss Helen's Pierce Arrow at the estate. Interesting story, huh? All these cars have a story, just sometimes you can't figure out what it is. Always been chauffeur driven. It was unrestored. In 1948, it was willed to Ms. Jones' chauffeur, who owned the car for several of those years. Typically, custom Pierce Arrow town cars and limousines were built on the larger Series 36 model. Ironically, Mrs. Jones selected her least expensive model, the Series 80, for her chauffeur-driven town car. This is the only Pierce Arrow Series 80 Durham-bodied town car known to exist. And the chauffeur drives out in the open. What a story. The Archer.
I read it.
The car was designed when Pierce Arrow was still part of Studebaker. When Pierce Arrow was sold to Studebaker for $1 million after having been bought. This car was designed when Pierce Arrow was still part of Studebaker and shared the body design with Studebaker St. Regis Brome Pierce and Studebaker parted company in 1933, same year as this car was produced, when Pierce was sold by Studebaker for $1 million after having been bought in 1928 for $5.7 million. So 5 years later, it had dropped to less than a fifth. New features included a downdraft carburetor, power-assisted brakes, hydraulic lifters, and a Startix starting system. Startix is a system that automatically restarted the car if it stalled. Lone Ranger and FDR. Lots to see here at the museum. I can't read it all. My mouth is getting dry. I'm getting tired. I still have to drive 2 hours to Detroit. That is my next stop. The Galloping Geese. Cars made into trains. Lots of them. Galloping Goose. All kinds of beautiful period photographs. Beautiful cars. 1907 Glidden Tour Pathfinder. Pierce Great Arrow Display at Early Auto Show. Only pictures say 1,000 words, don't they? This is some door mechanism. Look what's doing here. Richard Wilcox. Lots of parts and pieces in that door. Sorry for the shakiness. I've got to have it on Zoom to be able to focus. Pierce 8. Straight 8. Innovative Pierce alloy styling for 1936, aerodynamic and modern looking, yet would be the firm's last new design ever built. Production continued through 1937, 1 year after this, but dwindled quickly by 1938. While this new Pierce Arrow was on par with its competition, Lincoln, Packard, and Cadillac, the company suffered real financial difficulty and didn't survive beyond 1938. The show was almost over. 1937, second to last year, with that waterfall grill. Love it or don't. A few models were built for the 38 model year using leftover 37 parts, and all were hand-built. These cars are just magnificent. Huge, expensive cars. Price $3,700. It's actually kind of cheap, considering some of them are $5,000 or $10,000. $3,800. Style. Art Deco. No ropes around the cars. Did you notice that? You can get right up to them. That's sweet. Too bad you can't see with my crappy camera. I usually hardly ever have trouble with these cameras. Boy, 2 to go in one day. Big news in 1932 was the introduction of its 12-cylinder engine. This new engine was viewed as an attempt to meet the Depression-era challenge of V12 and V16 engines. Being offered by the fellow luxury automakers Packard, Cadillac, Lincoln, and Marmon, Pierce Arrow also offered a less expensive model for 1932 that used the previous smaller version of the 8-cylinder engine. Pierce Arrow's sales of all models numbered only 2,150 units, nearly 1,000 less than the company's break-even point. Flat head, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. That's a big clutch. Updraft carburetor and porcelain plated cast iron. Pierce Arrow Motor Works, Buffalo, New York. 1958 Pierce Arrow Society annual meet. $1925 Series 80 Roadster and a 5-ton truck. Oh jeez. A rum runner's delight. This Series 33 represented the peak in development of Pierce Arrow's dual-valve T-head engine design. The result was a very quiet and powerful engine that soon became popular with both driving public and the rum runners of Prohibition. It was common for these engines to be used in speedboats as a stationary power source after they had powered their luxury autos for a number of years. Yeah, and this one has seen better days. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. V12. Uh-oh, I think we're missing something. Awfully big gap between the head and the cylinders. Rotten. Yep, alloy here. Rusted up tight. Brass. Oh, too bad you can't see it. Happy camera. Zoomed in. Boy, what a party barge. You could land an airplane on the hood, it's so long. Alright, I'm going to unzoom, we'll see what happens.